is Worldwide Classic. I'm Southside Trey. Let's get straight to it. So, first and foremost, Seth Rollins and Gunther could steal the show at WrestleMania. It seems like the WWE is only putting together true classic matches on accident. We know better than to think that Gunther versus Seth Rollins was the original plan for WrestleMania. This almost reminds me of WrestleMania 17 when Triple H and Undertaker had the classic that wasn't supposed to happen. According to Jim Ross, the WrestleMania card was already put together, but somehow Triple H and Undertaker didn't have a match. Now, I could be petty as hell right now and give you my reason why Triple H was left off the card, but you definitely wouldn't expect The Undertaker to be left off WrestleMania. But I will play devil's advocate and say that Biker Gang, Regular Man Undertaker probably has something to do with it. This is the best thing that could have happened for Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins was about to share WrestleMania with a guy that I almost consider the brand new right back. I'm starting to see why Braun Breaker got the name that he has, because Braun Breaker is going to get in the ring and tear shit up, and not in a good way. Seth Rollins versus Gunther could be the best match from both nights. And when I saw Gunther give that passionate promo last night with Seth Rollins, I think part of that is because they both were instrumental at adding some stock in the World Heavyweight Championship. We got to take some time to give Seth Rollins and Gunther credit. The new World Heavyweight Championship looks weird, and I thought it would take time for it to actually mean something. But Seth Rollins flew the flag first. And besides the silly-ass character that was given to him by WWE, Seth Rollins was bringing his A game. So that's a large percentage of the reason the world title feels important. And maybe 70% of the reason why it's being defended in the real main event of night 2. But we can't overlook what Gunther meant to the world title either. It's just easy to look past it because these are those trying times where the not-so-creative team must have had writer's block. So I think this is why this match means so much to Gunther. You could see the emotion and the passion from Rollins as well. I think they have a handshake agreement that their match is the main event, no matter what night it's on or where it's at on the card. When Gunther is telling Seth Rollins it's personal because Rollins act like he's the best, that's just storyline derived from the actual truth. And the truth being that Gunther looks at Seth Rollins as the best wrestler on the roster. I think the psychology should tell us Gunther has to win the match. With the streak that he's been on and the fact that Seth Rollins is fresh off an injury, how could Gunther not win the match? Seth Rollins has been having the best matches at WrestleMania since WrestleMania 37. Of course, there are an exception or two. And even though I said that Seth Rollins coming off an injury can be a con, it's also an advantage, because I know Seth Rollins is fired the hell up and ready to show out at WrestleMania. Unfortunately, Gunther is going to extinguish that fire when he chokes out Seth Rollins. So for the next match that we should be talking about, it's the Women's World Heavyweight Championship, Stephanie Vaquer versus Liv Morgan. But we're not going to talk about that match today. We covered that on the last episode, so be sure to check that out. The only thing that I will say about that match is just like the song that she debuted last night, Liv Morgan is in trouble. We still going to keep the spotlight on the ladies. And we're going to talk about the Intercontinental Championship match with AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch. But I got to be honest with y'all. I don't want to. The last time we talked about their last encounter, I said how it looked like a developmental match straight out of the Performance Center. That's why I didn't have any expectations before. But now that AJ Lee has been back for a little while, and this is WrestleMania, AJ Lee is going to have to show up. It's just that simple, because Becky Lynch is one of those ones. I'm just trying to figure out what the WWE has done to Becky Lynch, because something just feels off. A few years ago, Becky Lynch was the man, and she was damn near the best thing going in WWE. And I'm pretty sure she's still that good. I just haven't been able to tell because of the level of competition. Not even to get down on AJ Lee, but we all know she's trying to get back in a wrestler's routine. But that still spills over into the match. I see Becky Lynch being overly cautious in her movements with AJ Lee. And it's because of the grace period her, along with the WWE, has allotted AJ Lee. It's time for the training wheels to come off at WrestleMania. And this isn't a criticism of AJ Lee, it's more of trying to build AJ Lee up. This is one of those pep talks before the game. Hearing some real shit you needed to hear before you walk through the tunnel. Because I believe everything that I'm saying goes double for AJ Lee. Because WrestleMania is her moment. I don't know what the end game is for AJ Lee. And after so long in a business like pro wrestling, you don't know if you get another WrestleMania. So I think it goes without saying, I expect to see the best AJ Lee we've seen since she's made her return. So when I circle back around to Becky Lynch, I already pointed out that a lack of competition is the biggest issue. But I think behind the scenes, as quiet as kept, Becky Lynch is just ready to go home and be a mom. Becky Lynch is a little similar to Asuka, only because the WWE is not ready for Becky Lynch. As talented as the women's division is, somehow there's been a miscalculation where there's no real competitors for Becky Lynch. And now is leading me to believe that WWE is lucky that they had Bianca Belair. WrestleMania 38 between Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair was a classic. Who was going to have Becky Lynch take her game to another level? Because against an opponent like Bianca Belair, that's mandatory. Because Bianca Belair is a triple threat. She's technically sound, she's a high flyer, and she's strong as hell. So it's no secret why we always see the EST excel. I think we're going to get it right Saturday night. This WrestleMania is huge for AJ Lee and CM Punk. So with all of that said, this is kind of a tough choice, mainly because I don't know the end game for AJ Lee. Is she planning on sticking around for a while? Maybe even trying to compete at next year's WrestleMania? Because details matter. If that answer is yes, then she has to win at WrestleMania. Because now she has to build up a resume moving forward. My heart tells me Becky Lynch is going to take it. But my heart is also telling me Becky Lynch wants to be home. So let's talk about a match that I'm looking forward to. I don't like what the WWE has going with Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. What the hell are y'all doing? Jacob Fatu was just handcuffed this past SmackDown, with blood running down his face. I thought we got past that. When Jacob Fatu had to step away from WWE for a while, WWE ran the story where somebody laid out Jacob Fatu. There was Jacob Fatu, laid out, unconscious, teeth on the ground. And when I saw that, I was at a loss for words. Just because Jacob Fatu had to step away to get some teeth repaired does not mean that in storyline, somebody had to knock his teeth out. This is Jacob Fatu. WWE have things backwards. The creative is supposed to have him do these things to other wrestlers to build up Jacob Fatu to be as dangerous as he should be. Why is WWE making Jacob Fatu a victim? When y'all had Jacob Fatu laid out like that with his teeth missing, I was uncomfortable because I don't know what stunt y'all trying to pull right now. And then now this past Friday, with Jacob Fatu being handcuffed and beaten again, I just don't like it. How does Jacob Fatu getting his ass whooped help him achieve the goal of being a power player? Everything just seems unnatural. And that's completely understandable. Because for Jacob Fatu, getting his ass whooped on the regular is probably unnatural. I know one thing. At WrestleMania, Fatu and McIntyre, they have to have a classic match. You got to keep in mind that he's still relatively new to WWE. From what I can remember, Jacob Fatu hasn't had a real feud yet. I don't count Solo Sikoa because I'm under the belief that group shouldn't have never been broke up in the first place. And I don't know why people haven't been talking about it, but Solo Sikoa is one of the most improved players over the past year. I think Jacob Fatu needs somebody else to do the talking. If it's all gas, no breaks, then it should be all action, no talking. Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre have to have one of the best matches on the card for WrestleMania. WrestleMania has a pretty solid card. I'll be the first one to admit it. The feuds that Drew McIntyre has had with Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes has been some of the worst of his career. In one of the feuds, the WWE Championship was on the line. With all of the work that Roman Reigns did to make that title as important as it is, I didn't think it would be so soon that I would care less about it. Ever since the feud with CM Punk, I don't know what's missing from Drew McIntyre. And a couple of weeks ago, I asked, is Drew McIntyre the problem? I guess in a few nights at WrestleMania, we gonna find out. This is one of those matches where both of these guys have to show up. Triple H did a good job at positioning the match. It's a non-sanctioned match, and there's really no pressure. Jacob Fatu has to win this match. He needs this win more than Drew McIntyre. I want to see Jacob Fatu get back on the road to being on a level like Obafemi. The type of reaction that we see from Obafemi is what I imagine we will be seeing from Jacob Fatu at this time. I expect Jacob Fatu to win, but for me, it's not going to be a true win if he doesn't beat the hell out of Drew McIntyre until it's uncomfortable to watch. Now, and what I guess will be the main event for night one is what we all know to be Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton with Pat McAfee. We all know by now, when it comes to Pat McAfee involved in this match, they could have kept that shit. I think it's a foregone conclusion. Randy Orton has to walk out 15-time champion. The only thing I'm wondering is how the match is going to play out at the end. I want to see Shane McMahon show up and be part of this group with Randy Orton and Pat McAfee. Now, I will say this. Even though I was half asleep, I did see a glimpse of SmackDown. Pat McAfee and Randy Orton attacked Cody Rhodes. And I don't know if it was me being half asleep, but it looked like Pat McAfee did some type of bicycle kick. That was just me tripping, right? Because if that was Pat McAfee, that was a pretty clean kick. But even though the move was nice, it still don't excuse Pat McAfee being his ass in the storyline. I think this is going to be the best match Cody's had since WrestleMania 38 against Seth Rollins. That's kind of deep when you really put it together, because almost every other WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes was in the championship main event. This is the moment I've been waiting for. I've been ready for Randy Orton to get back to his roots. This is when you see the Randy Orton that's really a ring general. We waited so long for Randy Orton to turn back heel that I started coming up with ideas of my own. So check this out. When Randy Orton was first on the phone with a mystery person, I would have got rid of the phone and have Randy Orton talking to somebody in the backstage area. But from the camera angle, you could only see Randy Orton, and the person he was talking to could still be a mystery. And then we find out Randy Orton was in the mirror talking to himself the entire time. Now at this point, we're playing off the idea that Randy Orton hears voices in his head, except now it's time for the evolution of that idea. And I would have done it this way before Randy Orton even attacked Cody Rhodes. So after Randy Orton gives Cody Rhodes the low blow, and then as the crowd is reacting to what just happened, we would see Randy Orton slowly have a breakdown. He would start acting erratic, then we would see Randy Orton put his hands over his ears. He's covering his ears because he doesn't want to hear the voices in his head. Because now the voices that Randy Orton hear is the Fiend. Rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. And we established that he's hearing the Fiend in his head. This is when Randy Orton takes Cody Rhodes to the outside of the ring and proceed to whoop his ass the way that he did. This is how I would accomplish about 5 different things. Number 1, I just paid tribute to Bray Wyatt while still naturally progressing the story of Randy Orton. I could argue that Randy Orton is Bray Wyatt's biggest rival in his career. Bray Wyatt had a portrait of the time Randy Orton burnt up his damn barn. And then later on down the line, in a moment that wasn't particularly their best, Randy Orton set Bray Wyatt on fire. So when it comes to Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton has been trying to burn it down on some Seth Rollins shit. And without Pat McAfee and an outside Hollywood entertainer, this would have been the most compelling story in the WWE. The reason I love this idea is because both times we saw Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt have a match at WrestleMania, it was probably the worst matches of both of their careers. How WWE could let that happen, we'll never know. This is an unconventional way that Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt can have a successful WrestleMania. We can't sit here and say that my idea wouldn't make Randy Orton a heel, because the way that the fans still cheer for Randy Orton, I'm not sure that he's a heel now. The WWE thought that Matt Cardona was beloved by the WWE Universe. But when Randy Orton was whooping his ass on SmackDown, the crowd was having a great time. And when it got to the spot where it seemed like Randy Orton broke the arm of Matt Cardona, the fans responded by saying, "Do it one more time." Randy Orton isn't happy that he's hearing The Fiend. This is why Randy Orton is going back to his old ways. He's lashing out at the idea of The Fiend. When we saw Randy Orton hit Cody Rhodes with the steel chair on the steel steps, that could be Randy Orton's idea of taking his aggression out on The Fiend. And now every WWE superstar is collateral damage. The next step is you have Randy Orton cut promos to talk shit about The Fiend. You basically have Randy Orton get on the microphone and turn into MJF, saying whatever crazy shit he could get away with. And now you actually have a true heel in Randy Orton, because this is the only way the fans will boo Randy Orton out of the building. This is the genius of my idea, if I do say so myself. We could actually see Randy Orton get the type of heat that we only see from Dominic Mysterio, because just like myself, fans love The Fiend, and they won't tolerate any Bray Wyatt slander. In real time, the WWE has Pat McAfee saying all type of goofy shit to try to get this heat. And then most important of all, for your night one main event at WrestleMania, the entire aesthetic of that main event is completely different now. And then, of course, you will see the lights in the crowd from the Fireflies. This idea would make the fans crazy about Cody again. Even how Randy Orton hypes himself up to do the RKO when he gets down and slams his fist on the mat. Now we can see the slick detail of Randy Orton doing that same thing, but now it's just out of frustration because he's hearing The Fiend. And Randy Orton can use the hurt and heal sequence to set it all up. I don't even know if this is possible, but imagine Randy Orton setting up his opponent for the Sister Abigail. I'm not saying Randy Orton has to kiss these people on the head. That's up to him. But I think it'll be a nice detail to see Randy Orton convert the Sister Abigail into the RKO. For me, it's already going to be a celebration to see Randy Orton win his 15th title. But to have Bray Wyatt included in this win in spirit, it might be the only way the Wyatt Six gets involved in the WWE Championship. I'm a big Bray Wyatt fan and a Randy Orton fan also. And I think that this idea should automatically put me on the WWE creative team. Let me know what y'all think about it. Send me an email and let's talk about it on the show. That's fulltimedigitalhouse@gmail.com. Yo, what's going on with it? I'm Southside Trey. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Full Time Digital House, and follow me on all social media, Southside_Trey. And now that I'm official in the podcast world, make sure you tune in to Worldwide Classic on Amazon, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever they got podcasts available, you can find Southside Trey.